Okay. This is the voxel system. This would be one of the systems you're going to use to analyze or complete the tasks for the user study. I'm going to walk you through the important UI elements you'll need to know in order to solve the different tasks. So when you open it up, this is what the screen will look like. There's 3 important areas that you need to focus on. The first tier is the panel that allows you to do filtering of the detections for the different models. Here are the images that you'll be working with all their detections. And then when you click, you're going to have a detail view that pops up that is similar. And then also a panel here, which is pretty much the same thing as the panel on the other view. Right? And yeah, you can zoom in, zoom out here on the images, and when you want to exit out, you just click outside of the image. Okay, so those are the 3 basic areas that you'll be looking at. To start, the important area for filtering, finding true positives, false positives, changing stuff like IOU and confidence is all in this region. So to start, we can select or deselect different models or the ground truth. And I will demonstrate the same thing can happen here, where you can select and deselect the different models. Also, it translates. So if you deselect in the main view, it pops up here in the detail view, but it doesn't translate back. So this is kind of like the aggregate for all the images. And then, so like, let's say model 2, we'll see model 2 isn't selected. All right. Next up, we're gonna focus on changing the IOU and confidence. So to remind you, the confidence is kind of the confidence that a model thinks, the confidence a model has in its prediction that its prediction is correct. And the IOU is how we measure if a detection is either a true positive or a false positive. It's the cutoff. So we can do that here. If we click down, we'll have confidence, and this will filter out any items that are below a 0.91 confidence. And then here we can adjust the IOU. So let's say we want an IOU cutoff of 0.7, we can do that. And this will update all the different models here on the screen and all the different detections for model 3. Then if we want to select true positives only, we can do this. And this will filter out here. Or let's say we want to select just the false positives, we can do that as well. And if we select both, they both show up. And the same thing happens if we deselect both, they will both show up. All right. So now the same thing can happen if we click on the image. So let's say we zoom in on a particular image. We're going to want to do the same type of thing. We can go here. And again, we can adjust the confidence, which as we lower the confidence, we'll see more detections. Here's detection with a confidence of 0.22. We can only see the true positives, or we can see just the false positives. Now it might be kind of, there we go. So now we see them all, and selecting and deselecting interested into the front. So true positives, this shows only the true positives. Then if we this shows only the false positives. This shows all the detections. and we can change the IOU. The higher the IOU, the less true positives we'll have. All right, so on. Now, if we adjust these different criteria, they will translate to the next image as well. Finally, just to demonstrate again, we can select or deselect different models like so to get to the detections we want. Yeah, those are the primary three ways, or the primary UI elements. So again, this panel does the filtration for all the images, all the detections here. If we want more detailed view, we can select the image, we can zoom in, zoom out, and then we can kind of have a more finer filtration here using the same elements as the overall. Second system that we'll be testing is called SetMLVis. When you run it, this is the screen that will open up. The basic components of the system are a broad filtering for IOU and confidence, a set visualization, which allows you to explore subsets of the data. When you click on these subsets of the data, you'll see the different images pop up with the detections. And when you click on one of the thumbnail images, a detailed view pops up. Okay, let's start with the filtering system. Here on the left, or on the top, we'll have IOU, which we can set with the slider or by clicking a number or typing a number. For instance, as we lower the IOU, we'll have more true positives. As we increase the IOU, we'll have more false positives. And to be clear, the red is false positives and the blue is true positives. So as you can imagine, as we have a higher threshold, it is harder to get correct detections. So let's set that to 0.5. Then over here, we'll have confidence filtering. We can increase the confidence, and this will decrease the total amount of detections because we're only taking detections that are very high confidence. If we lower the confidence, we'll have more detections because even no detections or less detections will be getting rejected or filtered out. So let's set that back to 0.7. Okay. Now on to kind of the tricky part of this system is the set visualization. So as before, or as the other system, we have 4 models we're evaluating with their detections. So model 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here in the set visualization, it is the detections are parsed into subsets. So let's start with a simple example. Here on the left, we're going to be looking at where model 4 makes detections or thinks a certain object is a car and no other model does. So if we click on this, this will pop up. It'll give us all the different images or the different times that model 4 makes a prediction where model 1, 2, and 3 do not. So for instance here, model 4 predicts that this bush is a car, high confidence, while none of the other models do. On the other hand, and sometimes this happens where the images stop loading, we can just rerun it and some of the problems should disappear. We're still working on that glitch. So now on the other hand, this is where all four models make a detection. So here we have model 4, 1, 2, 3, all making the same prediction, and because it is a true positive, they're making a correct prediction. So they're all agreeing that a certain object is a car, and they are correct. So let's take a look at that example. So here we have, and we can zoom in, all four models here make a prediction that this white car is a car, and in fact it is, based off the ground truth. Now we can also do the same thing with false positives. So where do all four models think there is a car, but the ground truth disagrees? So all four models, for instance, think that there is a bush. This bush is a car. It is not a car. And now the same goes down the line here. So let's say we want to know where model 1 and 4 think there's a detection, while model 2 and 3 do not. We can select here, or the true positives, and they correct. Model 4 and 1 think there is a car, which there is, and the ground truth agrees, while model 2 and 3 do not. Now moving on to this left panel, this is what we call the query system. Here we can ask certain questions of the data. So for instance, if we want to know where does model 3 make predictions and model 2 does not, we can select the dark circle signifying that model 3 is making a prediction, and then we can choose this blank circle meaning model 2 does not. So we're finding all places that model 3 is making predictions where model 2 is missing them or not making them. And when we hit confirm, we aggregate the data here. The most important part will be this far left column, where this is finding all the times where model 3 makes a prediction, model 2 does not. We can click false positives, which brings up the images where model 3 makes a prediction and model 2 does not. One of the neutral just means that model 1 and 4 can still make a prediction in this area. Whether or not they do doesn't matter for that leftmost column. Make sure that this will work. Now, the final thing that we need to demonstrate is the detail view. So let's start by clicking the true positives again for all four models and open up a detection. Okay, so to start, we can investigate, zoom in, zoom out. We can click through the images. And then importantly, here we have a similar filtering system to the other system. So here, this middle, this leftmost selector allows us to just see that there's, one prediction for each of the four models. So it's that singular detection. This allows us to see all the predictions that are true positive on that image. So it's the blue true positives on that image. So we have 37 true positives. So model 4 predicts 37, and we can select and deselect in the same way, right? And now the far right allows us to not just see the true positives, but the true positives and the false positives. So this will allow us to see all the detections that model 4 makes on this particular image, similar to the other system. There we go. We can select and deselect those to get an overall understanding. And